One of the biggest challenges to leading worship can be running an effective worship band rehearsal. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to help your worship rehearsal run more smoothly. Coming up. Hey there, my name is Glory and this is your worship mentor. On this channel, I help you grow into a stronger and more effective worship leader right where you are. And today we're going to do that by talking about how you can run a more effective worship band rehearsal. If you find this content interesting or helpful to you at all, be sure to hit that like button. It definitely makes a difference and I would so appreciate it. First of all, let's dive right in. What is a worship rehearsal? For the purpose of this video, I'm going to call worship rehearsal the time where everyone comes together and dials in the finer parts of their songs. So we already know what the songs are. We already know, for the most part, what key we're going to be doing them in. And we're just kind of dialing down things like transitions and kind of how things are going to run, the order of the songs, all of that. That's what we're doing in worship rehearsal. Some people might call that worship practice. Some people might call it sound check. But those are actually different things that I'm going to reference in different videos. But in my opinion, a worship practice is when you're practicing the song, you don't know it as well, and there's more room for error. But in a worship rehearsal, you want to kind of have all that stuff figured out. So here are the 5 tips to help you run a smoother rehearsal. So tip number 1 is have your set list prepared a week in advance. And I know that sounds a little scary and can be stretching for some people, but there's a good reason why you want to have your songs prepared a week in advance. If you have your set list posted, if you use Planning Center, if that's the kind of software your church uses, if you have your songs posted a week in advance, that gives your bandmates a chance, your other worship team members, a chance to know the songs, to know what key you're planning on doing them in. If you're really optimizing your use of Planning Center, you can have an MP3 of the song listed. If you're not using any of that, that's totally fine. It's just as well to send an email with, YouTube links of the songs that you want to do and just let your band know what key you want to do them in. Having your set list prepared is huge because that gives your band the opportunity to figure out those songs on their own before the band ever gets together. So when you're on your own the week before, you have a whole entire week to figure out the song, to learn the parts, to get all that prepared for your worship rehearsal. And that really just lends right into tip number 2, which is know your parts. If you know your parts or what you're responsible for before you head into rehearsal, that really optimizes the time that you spend. As a leader, it's very important for you to know the music and to know the lyrics. I know a lot of people get away with this by having confidence monitors and other things, but if you really have to think about it, there's a lot that you're responsible for as the worship leader in that time frame. A lot of people on worship teams are volunteers. Even worship leaders and worship pastors in some capacity are volunteering their time to be able to lead an effective rehearsal. So when we have people who are volunteering, taking an hour or 2 out of their week, whether it's like a weeknight rehearsal or however you might do that, that really makes a difference when everybody knows their parts, because then we can optimize that hour of time or that 2 hours of time to really have the most effective use of that time. Knowing your parts really just helps to make the most out of the time that is already set aside for your worship rehearsal. Tip number 3, be on time. As I said in the last tip, a lot of us are volunteers. So time is important. Time is precious. People have to be with their families. People have their work responsibilities and all these other things going on. You really want to make sure that the time that you spend in worship rehearsal is actually spent rehearsing and actually spent doing what you want to do. Being on time means that your instrument is tuned, that you are ready to go, your spot is all set up on stage or wherever it is that you're having rehearsal. It means that once the clock strikes, say your rehearsal starts at 7, once the clock strikes 7, you are in your place and you are ready to go. That's what that means, be on time. And if you can do that, you're setting an example for the rest of your team to be able to do that. I know there are a lot of challenges, especially when teams are totally made up of volunteers and, you're the only paid leader or you're the only, you're responsible, but it's so important to set the precedent of what it looks like to be prepared and to be on time, because you are the one who's leading the team, and that does make a difference. It sets the tone for the whole environment, for the whole team. So be on time. Tip number 4, be flexible. Things change. Things always change. This is a rule of life. So it's so important for you as a leader or as a worship team member, whoever you are watching this video, to be flexible. If you've been practicing all week a certain song that you wanted to do in the key of E, and you have another singer or musician who's actually leading that song, and then you come to rehearsal and they figure, actually, I think this would be better if I sang it in F. It feels more comfortable for my voice, you know. It is so important for you to be flexible, to be able to make that change. And I know that depends on what you can do musically, like if you're playing a lead instrument, and how that will affect you playing certain chords or playing certain other chords. You know, I know that that is challenging and can be challenging. But it's so important to be flexible because that really just makes a difference, you know? You only have a certain amount of time and you want to use it well. So when things change, just understand that it's not the end of the world and everything's going to be okay, and you just have to roll with it. And this actually leads into my next tip, which is lean on other members of your team. So you might not be the most musically inclined, even though you're the lead of the team. You are a team. That is probably the main key word here. You're a worship team. So it's so important to lean on the strengths of other people in places where you might be weak. I know on teams that I've been on, usually my keyboard players are some of the most musically minded people that I know. They usually come from a background of more formal training, and I know that's not always the case, but just in my experience, they've been the people that I can lean on the most because they have the most input, and they sometimes have a better capability to help make certain changes or to do certain things differently than I would in my limited music knowledge, you know? So working together with other members of your team makes a difference with you being able to lead and being able to be flexible. I know sometimes it's been helpful when we're trying to figure out parts or transitions to have almost a mini brainstorming session. So, you know, just kind of letting people throw ideas out of how do you think we can get from this song to this song, or how do you think we can make this transition better? You know, and someone will say, oh, maybe we can put some pads in here, maybe I can play this riff on the guitar, whatever that looks like. You know, just having a little brainstorming session where you're actually working together as a team to choose what direction you're going to go in. It just makes all the difference when people are included and they feel included, they feel a part of what's going on, and not just like they're being strung along for the ride, you know? So lean on other members of your team, take ideas, and work together. So that was my 5th tip, but I'm going to give you guys a bonus tip, and that is have fun. I know some of the best times with my worship teams were during rehearsals when people were just goofing off, and whether that means, you know, sound checking the journey, or, you know, someone just making a joke or watching a funny YouTube video like before we started, those things make all the difference in the world, because really the worship team isn't just about sounding good, and it's not about, you know, being the best necessarily or being perfect even, but it's actually about building a community. Like, your worship team is a smaller subset of your church. So your church community as a whole is one thing, and that's why churches oftentimes have small groups and other groups where people can connect more. If you consider your worship team as almost a small group unto itself, making time for fun and making time for connection is a huge necessity, because that's the place where people feel the most connected. That's the place where people feel most like they're part of something, and like it really matters that they're there, that they're part of a community, they're part of a team, you know, not just someone who's being used, or, you know, they have the gifts and the talents, so they might as well be up there playing guitar. No, it's actually part of a team. And if you make room for that, you make room for people to have fun, that makes all the difference in the world. So we did it. We got through 5 tips with even a bonus tip. So question of the day, what are your rehearsals like? Are they challenging? Are they hard? Are they easy? Is everyone on time? Does everybody know their parts? Let me know in the comments below. What are your rehearsals like? I would love to start that discussion with you. And if I can offer any help and any more advice, I would love to do that. If there's any tips that I didn't get to, let me know those in the comments as well. And maybe we can start a discussion down there. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you got some benefit out of this video. If you did, be sure to tap that like button, because it really truly makes a difference. And if there's anything else you guys want to add, Be sure to join the discussion down below. I'd love to, get some conversations going back and forth between us down there. Also, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Do that in the best way possible. I don't know if you can hear the sirens, but I live in New York, so